Moving on from Windows to the Apple side of things, there were quite a few software updates from Apple directly, as well as third-party vendors on there as well. We did see Monterey addressing 9 vulnerabilities. We saw Ventura addressing 13 vulnerabilities. We saw a Safari update for Ventura and Monterey as well, so they're in the browser side. And finally, a Sonoma update that addressed 17 vulnerabilities as well. You know, it's pretty typical. Apple generally supports 3 versions of their operating system. Usually the newest one will come out around the Thanksgiving holiday, sometime around then, in November, and they will then drop support very quickly for the oldest one. In this case, that would be Monterey. So we'll see in the fall when the new one comes out. Of course, Chrome updates as well. On top of the various Apple operating systems, we saw 3 different releases throughout the month, this time between the Patch Tuesdays. We saw an update for Docker Desktop that addressed 4 vulnerabilities. Evernote addressed 1 vulnerability. Microsoft obviously supports updates on top of the Apple operating system as well. We saw this one particular vulnerability, 20677 here, that came out the middle of the month. You'll see it. There was an update for Excel, OneNote. I think I listed a couple other here, Outnote, PowerPoint, and Word. So there was that update that came out in the middle of the month, so be aware of that. And of course, a lot of people run the Edge browser on top of the Apple OS as well. And so we saw 3 different updates that came out for Edge periodically throughout last month. So a lot of third-party releases, obviously, happening across a lot of different operating systems. And here is the Mozilla update as well for Firefox and Firefox ESR and Thunderbird finally. So lots of activity this last month. As Chris mentioned, you know, in addition to your normal patch cycle that we're seeing for your typical Patch Tuesday and all the OS and application updates that come out from Microsoft, we're now seeing a lot of interim updates that people are running these days as well as part of a regular patch cycle to catch the most important of those third-party updates. So there was a lot of activity, so pay attention and kind of look through the information that we provided there. We have a lot of links for those of you who download our presentation to take you to the appropriate location to read more about those. With that, Chris, kind of where are we on the question side?
All right, so we do have a question from Elgin. Did anyone encounter server rebooting again unexpectedly 1 to 2 weeks after January's .NET update? For Server 2016 was deployed and rebooted. Don't know if we heard any particular issues with that directly through our support channels, but usually with that, it's more the Microsoft side. So most people may be going directly there. If anybody has a similar experience, go ahead and share that real quick, and we can share that on here. So that was more of just a, hey, did anybody have the same issue? The next one was from Matthew, a question regarding the patches from December and January. Sorry, those words are bundling in my mind as I was speaking. Was there anything that potentially broke print filter pipeline service.exe? Todd, we didn't have anything specific for a known issue around that, right?
I don't think so, but we did go into print servers a little bit in more detail last month because there was an article that came out about Microsoft going to update their entire, the printing infrastructure.
Right.
And he mentions the tool in here. I talked a little bit about that last month as well. Let me go back and see if I can find some of those links, and I'll provide them here.
Yeah. So Matthew, we'll see if we can dig up a little bit of the content we talked about last time. Microsoft is making big changes there, but it's more of a additive, not a complete restructure of what's currently there. So it sounded, as Todd and I were researching it, that it's going to be something that you move on to and replace kind of how printing currently works. But it's not like they're gutting and replacing and changing out everything underneath to do this. So I think they're making some good strides there, but I don't think it's relating to what you're probably running into. Curtis was saying he had an unexpected reboot last night. Matthew, question there, did Microsoft address the issues with January's security patch failing due to the lack of recovery partition? So that one, let's see, what did I just went into this yesterday with one of the writers from Tech Target who was asking about that as well. Microsoft has a very complicated, unfortunately, challenge with how WinRE is updated. So if you're on the latest branches, Windows 11 and going forward, WinRE is going to getting managed by the OS level. If you're on anything older than that, there was a separate URL getting into details about each of the other distro branch levels. So with that, I think the unfortunate answer is Windows 11 and later, great. If it's anything older, you're kind of stuck with trying to have to fix the issue directly. That's probably the short answer to that. The full answer of how do you go about that is very complex. Like I said, there's a lot of individual links for each different Windows edition and branch level that vary on how to approach it. So not good news there. Apologies for that. Matt had a question about subscribing to ESU. So quick update on that for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. Ivanti has been doing ESU, what's now called ESU support, since all the way back to NT4 days. When I started with Shablik, we actually were wrapping up extended support for NT4 as I was coming into that team there. Crazy that I've been in the industry for that long now. I've got a senior graduating this year. It's flying by. But basically, there's kind of two parts to this. If you subscribe to Microsoft's ESU coverage, they've now moved to the Azure Arc subscription model. So you can actually subscribe monthly through that. Some of you are doing the more traditional ESU MAK key model. That's one where you have to kind of ask. It's not on the menu, but if you ask and you ask hard enough, you can still get it, from what we understand. But that's kind of bottom line, Matt. You have to have that ESU subscription from Microsoft in one form or another to get access to turn on patching. The patches are actually public. You can go out and download it directly from Windows Catalog. You just can't run it on a 2012 server unless you either have the Azure Arc agent with an active subscription, turning that feature on, or you have an MAK key that enables the ability for patching to occur. That being said, if you're an Ivanti patch customer, because we do have non-Ivanti organizations on here as well, and we have those who are running on Microsoft and using our third-party catalog, whatever products you're using on the Ivanti side, we provide that content for people who are subscribing to Microsoft's ESU and want to continue your product, or our product being able to support that like you've always done. It's a more of an operational subscription that you could subscribe to make it so that our EPM product, our security controls product, our Neurons patch product, you can get that content directly in that experience. Again, requires the Microsoft ESU, but then you could subscribe to ours to get access to that content to make it part of how you're managing those systems. So if you need more details on that, reach out to us and we'll be happy to hook you up with a more detailed breakdown of what's going on there. I think we've got most questions addressed. Oh, a couple more came in. Since Exchange CU14 was just released, manual modifications have to be made if you do not update, right? Typically, we do not install the CU at release. So yeah, Roddy, if you're not at it, again, each version CU is different for that. I think 2016 was CU23 turned on that enhanced protection for authentication, and for 2019 it was CU14. If you're on an older CU than that, Microsoft has details on there about how to turn on that feature. It's still in there for, I don't know how far back, but it's in there, and there's details about how to turn that on, but you have to do that if you're on a CU level before they turned it on by default. So hit up that CVE page. If you scroll down, you're going to get to the FAQ section. They break it down by which edition you're on, tell you exactly which CU turned on the feature by default, and if you didn't, have links to more detail there.
Yeah, this month's KB article that I included, Chris, as well, I read through it in quite a bit of detail. They talk about going back and turning it on in 2016 and other places as well. So they go into quite a bit of detail on how to enable it.
Absolutely. Follow-up question about the Connect Secure technology? No, the Ivanti patch solutions and endpoint management solutions do not share a code base with the Connect Secure product base. So completely separate code base. All right. You're welcome, Remy. We're always happy to try to share as much detail as possible to make everybody's lives easier. There's a lot obviously out there, so we don't have questions for everything under the sun, but we do our best. Infographic for this Patch Tuesday. That all should be live, but let me double check it because they did make some updates to the website. You can actually see that we had some format updates and things too. So a lot of our content and things were updated, and the website is getting some, facelifts and things like that as well. But if you go to Ivanti.com, under resources, there's the Patch Tuesday subpage there. You'll have the February 14th Patch Tuesday is updated. The infographic link is there and working, along with links to the blog, and the presentation and webinar recording will be up there later today. So that's the best place to get that, is on that Patch Tuesday page.
Chris, did you talk about the addendum associated with our ESU? I can talk about that.
I did not mention that.
There was a question from
okay.
Yeah, there was a question from Ulan here, so I'll address that really quick for you, Ulan. So we have an addendum with our Server 2012 ESU content in that we obviously can't do the patching without you having a Microsoft Azure Arc enablement or a Mac key in place. So all the addendum does is confirm that you understand that you have to have that separate key from Microsoft in order for the patching to occur. We can provide the content and patch and enable them through our patch products, but the understanding through the addendum obviously is from a legal standpoint that we aren't directly providing Microsoft keys to you. You have to get them from Microsoft. That's all that addendum is all about. Hope that's clear.
There was a question about a Python security update without CVEs. Chad, I'm assuming you're saying Python on Windows, or are you talking Python in general? Might have to get some more details on that. I don't see any immediate news just by looking on the Python side.
I mean, a lot of vendors will say this is a security update without providing specific CVEs they addressed. So that's probably the question, maybe.
Yeah. I apologize. We don't have a good answer for you on that one. We'd probably have to get more details so we could research that in more depth. All right. Oh, he's saying it was on our slides earlier.
Let's see. It's probably listed as a security without CVEs. That's why.
Oh, I see what you're saying. In the between the Patch Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably there. Okay, so that's actually a good point. We can tackle that real quick because that's actually a good one here. So many third-party solutions, and I'll go back a couple of slides here to get to the slide that Chad is referring to. Thank you for clarifying that. That definitely got my brain in the right place for this. So we tend to, that's the Apple specific one. Here we go. No, it's still not it. Where's the general one? Here, we got a lot of slides.
You got to go way back. There was a lot between the Patch Tuesdays.
There's a lot of between the patch. Okay.